What happens to an ICBM after blastoff? Who feels its pulse as it rises 600 miles into space, soars 5,500 miles across the sea? Who listens to its electronic delirium? Who finds it when it falls and fishes it almost lifeless out of the sea? Today, for the first time on television, you will see and hear the story of the Air Force's 6,000-mile shooting gallery in downrange. To test a BB gun or a guided missile, you need a rifle range. A clear space of a few yards, a fence post, an old tin can, that'll do for a BB gun. But for a 6,000-mile guided missile, you need a 6,000-mile missile range. That is what the Air Force has created. Down the line, 2,000 men are ready, like hunters in a huge duck blind, waiting for the big birds to pass. We're going down that range, going where the missile goes, from its fiery start to its underwater end. From the Cape, the missiles are tracked. Jupiter in South Florida, then the islands, Grand Bahama, Eleuthera, San Salvador, Mayaguana, Grand Turk, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Antigua, St. Lucia. When the islands run out, aircraft and ships, some based in Recife, Brazil, take over. Finally, Fernando de Noronha, and only 950 miles from the coast of Africa, Ascension Island, the end of the line. At Canaveral, as along the entire route, electronic ears are listening, for the missile is a greater egoist than man himself. In the telemetry building at the Cape, it can be heard endlessly talking about itself. Temperature of skin, attitude in flight, how its insides feel, how its heart beats. The range is a tape recorder, tuned into a space-age hypochondriac. Scientists, like attractive Helen Mann, who has a master's degree in physics, analyze the data sent by the missile's transmitters. On these tapes are the answers to questions anxiously asked in 100 research laboratories, in the Pentagon, in the White House itself. I'm here with the boss man of this outfit, Major General Donald N. Yates, the commander of the Air Force Missile Test Center at Patrick Air Force Base and at Cape Canaveral. General Yates, this isn't solely an Air Force operation, is it?
No, Mr. Cronkite, it isn't. Actually, we are operating here for the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and National Aeronautics and Space Administration as one of 3 national ranges. The Air Force administers this one, the Navy administers the Pacific Missile Range, and the Army administers the range at White Sands, New Mexico.
General, once you've had a successful shoot of a missile and recorded the data from it, why do you have to fire off more and more of these expensive birds?
Because I think we don't fire very many of these birds. Comparatively, several years ago, when the Germans were firing V-2s, it took them 3,000 flights before they could get one to get to England, and they couldn't hit very well after they got there. Each bird gives us almost a full account of the behavior of every piece in it, and if anything goes wrong, we can correct it before the next firing, and I think we're real lucky if we develop a bird in 30 to 40 shots.
In other words, the $600 million or so spent on this Cape Canaveral installation is well paid for in the saving of the number of firings of these expensive missiles.
We wouldn't be in the missile business if we had to do it the old way.
In the missile business, the end product is data. The collection of this data is called telemetry, the measurement, transmission, and recording of what's happening on the bird 700 miles up. Most of the data comes to the Cape from the downrange islands, the first of which is Grand Bahama, 180 statute miles to the east. Telemetry antennas now stalk the pines and palms that once sheltered pirates. From here, the antennas can pick up signals from the big birds even before they rise from the launching pads at Canaveral. Like many of the downrange islands, GBI is British. About 300 missile men live and work here. This is central control at GBI.
Radars, are you phased and ready?
Although the Air Force has overall control of the Atlantic Range, most of the operations are in civilian hands, under contract to Pan American World Airways and its subcontractor, Radio Corporation of America. This is Captain James Krause, the base commander and range safety officer. From this console here, the missiles can be destroyed in flight.
All stations operation. Test number 3522 has been terminated.
Jim, got a second now?
Yes, sir.
How does it feel to have the authority to blow up a $2 million missile?
Well, I had the tendency to break a man into a cold sweat.
I bet it does. How do you determine when you're going to destruct?
Well, I have two groups of missiles. I have one group which I have the sole responsibility for determination and destruction. I can determine from the chart when the missile goes across the destruct lines, I destroy it. The other group of missiles, I'm on an advisory and standby status. If the equipment at Cape Canaveral becomes inoperative, I can take over and destroy the missile here.
Shelton, you're a base commander as well as range safety officer. How do you find time for that big job as well as this one?
Well, the actual management of the base is taken care of by Ed Jones.
Well, I'll talk to Ed then. Ed Jones is the base manager here. Ed, how is the responsibility divided up here at the base?
Well, as Pan American base manager, I have the overall responsibility for the operation of this station. And then in a special field of instrumentation, the subcontractor, Radio Corporation of America, as an instrumentation manager. This is Dave Donaldson.
Dave, I know that you've been down here for 5 years. Why do men come to these outposts downrange?
I think the primary reason, of course, is money. Most people in the States, they work, but here we have that extra incentive, the 30% bonus. And I think that's the main reason.
Jay, you're a young man. Isn't this pretty rough duty without women down here?
I've taken care of that. I got married and I brought my wife down to the station with me. We live right on the beach, about a mile from the site here.
Wives and children are discouraged from coming downrange. A few come anyway. Some, like the J.C. Harts, come to honeymoon. Food, however, is hard to get and expensive. Housing is primitive. There's little fresh water, and none of it is running or hot. No schools. But who cares? It's a tropical island, isn't it?
Laugh, ya laugh, laugh, ya laugh, laugh, ya laugh, cause we got crawfish money. Crawfish money never done. Crawfish money. Crawfish money's a lot of fun. Crawfish money. Run, gal, run. We ain't got no haul. One thing we have, we sure is having a ball. Crawfish money never done. Crawfish money. Crawfish money's a lot of fun. We got crawfish money. Crawfish money never done. We got crawfish money.
Downrange, 300 miles east from GBI, 490 from the Cape, to the open sea and lonely San Salvador, scene of one of the greatest discoveries of mankind's history. Here it was that Columbus first landed in America. And here today in San Salvador Central Control, there is another kind of exploration. The missile men with their strange dialogue of the space age.
Clock 225 seconds, radar transmitters on.
Grade 1, grade 5.
Confirm function recorders and GIN on at this time.
225 seconds, Sal, radar's on.
Standby command for command carrier on.
Roger, grade 3, grade 5, radar transmitters coming on. 2, 1, mark.
1-5, command carrier
GTS
on,
transmitter
Sal.
on, 253 seconds.
Roger, 1.
Rotai operation, standby for camera on.
This is Rotai, a 500-inch camera telescope capable of spotting a baseball 8 miles off. It snaps pictures of the flame pattern of the big birds climbing into space 200 slant miles away. This space-age camera stands on crumbling coral, once trod by Columbus and the naked feet of his Indian Reception Committee. And now beyond San Sal and its 200 missile men, past tiny Grand Turk, Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico, to the last stop in the Caribbean, 1,440 miles from the Cape, sophisticated Antigua.
Where the explorer gone? Nobody knows. Where did the explorer gone? Nobody knows. Some say it's in space. We can't find the trace. Somebody make a mistake and send it out to this world. Explorer, explorer, oh, explorer. Some think it fell in the ocean. Some think it fell in the sea. But I don't care wherever it falls as long as it don't fall on me.
Antigua, with its picturesque capital of St. John's, is in the British West Indies. Its residents have long played host to international society. Today, there is a new set on the island, the Missile Men.
Antigua telemetry on signal. Stand by for reporter's on. 3, 2, 1, mark.
Work at the base is much the same as at any of the others, during the daytime at any rate. It is nighttime that makes Antigua a choice assignment for the downrange families. After Antigua, we temporarily run out of islands. Range ships now take over the telemetry mission. Some are based at Trinidad, others at Recife, a city of 500,000 Brazilians pressed between the jungle and the sea. Here we spoke to Paul Gluchowski, a former New Jersey lawyer and also a successful band leader in South America for many years. Paul gave up both careers at the age of 40 for the excitement of working downrange. He lives in Recife with his family and is responsible for the electronic instruments on the range ships. The ship is essentially a floating tape recorder. It also has a second mission, recovering the nose cone after it falls into the sea.
Kingston up and Kingston 5, over. 25. This is Kingston 5, and our telemetry recorder is off at 17.3.
Item follow as follows. Above Peter Howe Williams north. Item Roger Dog Baker west.
That's affirmative, and paragraph Charlie is green.
Above the ships are the range aircraft, bulging with electronic gear.
Bring her up a little bit. Back. That's good.
How's that?
That's good.
How many microvolts we got?
10 microvolts.
All right, let's go to number 2. All right, this telemetry recorders are on at 4-8.
The nose cone, or reentry vehicle in official language, is also hunted by airmen in an eyeball search. Now past Fernando de Noronha, 250 miles off the Brazilian coast, to the end of the line, Ascension Island, 5,050 miles from the launching pad. This lava mass, 34 square miles with only 10 acres of fertile ground, was for 100 years listed not as an island, but as a ship by the British Admiralty. This is the moon, or as close as you can get to it and still remain attached to the earth for rations and quarters. The wife of the British cable station manager here refers to that thing up on the hill as the lemon juicer. It is really a high-gain telemetry antenna with a dish 60 feet in diameter. Civilians get a 40% bonus if they stay on Ascension 6 months or more. It is a long way from anywhere you can think of, and a long way from home.
I got the burner Alpha, cut the burner.
This is where they record the missile's last gasp as it collides with the atmosphere upon re-entry and drops into the Atlantic. The Atlas ICBM has been operating at more than a 6,000-mile range. The Soviet Union's Pacific missile shots have approached 8,000 miles. Both have been hitting with very high accuracy. World War II flyers and anti-aircraft men stationed here will remember the wide-awake birds. They made real sleep almost impossible on this vital South Atlantic ferry stop. Hence the name, Wide Awake. Now they cluck and clatter over their eggs under the motherly eye of the lemon juicer. More soothing is the island's only disc jockey.
This is radio station ZDA, the voice of Ascension, returning to the air. This station is owned and operated by employees of Ascension Auxiliary Air Force Base under the rules and regulations of the British government on an assigned frequency of 540 kilocycles with a power output of 20 watts.
Well, hi there. This is your old buddy Buck with 90 minutes of your favorite Western and country music. If you have a request, please call in. We'll do our best to play it.
We've had our look downrange. Now we're going back to shoot an Atlas intercontinental ballistic missile from the Cape. You will ride with it, and we mean really ride with it, as it streaks on its way downrange. At Cape Canaveral, the men are heading for the blockhouse. The missile's tanks are being topped off with liquid oxygen. We're just about ready to go.
Task Conductor Support Coordinator.
Go ahead, Frank.
You have 100% optics.
Okay, Frank, thanks.
Task Conductor from TCA.
Go ahead, Gene.
Mark 2 space check completed at all stations. Okay.
Water panel, periscope.
Roger.
Throttle valve open, please. Throttle valve coming open.
-50. Azusa.
Go.
Joseph.
Go.
Beacon.
Go.
G guidance and IP.
Go.
G nose cone.
Go.
AFMTC telemeter.
Go.
Telemetering quality.
Go. Removing arming safety pin. Arm switch to arm.
T-minus 60 seconds and counting.
Arm. Missile helium to internal.
Steady.
Let's go, Dick.
Range ready, switch on.
Looks good. We're still on track here.
Programming over. SRO, are you still tracking?
Yes, sir. Things are looking real fine.
Okay, Jim.
You got a real runner there.
Good.
All right. Impact prediction is still moving out.
Radar 1, your elevation is jumping. Crank in some more smoothing, please.
Roger, on my mark, you will be receiving our DTS. 3, 2, 1, mark.
Roger.
Roger, GBI, your DTS looks good.
Now the main stage separates from the nose cone. You're on board the nose cone 300 miles up, and you can see both sun and earth in the same scene. We're in free flight, like a bullet. Perfect silence. No atmosphere, therefore no sound.
Any time now, Rhodey. How's she looking out there, Rhodey?
Looking good.
Roger. Stand sal, roti on, plus 263 seconds. Let me know how she does, roti.
Missile acquired at San Sal.
Radar reporters
On track and green at San Sal.
Now we're 700 miles up. The black areas below are water. The white is cloud cover over the land. As the nose cone swings, you have a panoramic view of almost the entire Atlantic Ocean and its bordering continents. Far below, on the next level, the range planes are in action.
Anything over there yet?
Not yet. It ought to be here any time now. How about maybe you haven't got enough gain up?
Wait a minute, I think I got on number 1. Yeah, here she is.
Right. Telemetry pilot. We've got a good signal coming in on number 1 and 2 receiver.
On the surface, the range ships are now at widely spaced stations at sea. This is the actual voice of the missile. This is the view from the nose cone, now in its last stage of ballistic flight, heading down.
There it is. See it's come back in loud and clear.
Re-entry, sir. It's coming back in.
It glows and burns with friction caused by its speed and the increasingly dense atmosphere. Very few, even among downrange men, have ever seen this. A parachute, automatically released, slows it down.
Telemetry to pilot, splash. All receivers have lost signal. Hit the water.
Now it is a race against time. The nose cone carries a self-inflating float. It swells into shape on contact with the water. The plugs in the float are soluble. If the nose cone, suspended 40 feet below, is not found within a few hours, the float will sink to keep the package out of unfriendly hands. There is just the sound of the float's homing beacon. All data transmission has stopped.
ORV Yankee, this is Air Force 509. We now have electronic signal on our direction finders at 070 degrees. We are proceeding to investigate, over.
Air Force 509, this is ORV Yankee. Roger, understand. ORV Yankee out.
ORV Yankee, this is Air Force 509. We now have visual contact with the recovery package. Are presently orbiting said package at 2,000 feet, over.
Air Force 509, this is ORV Yankee. Roger, I'm getting underway to proceed your position for package pickup.
Station 1, this is Station 12. ORV Yankee now underway for pickup. Over.
Station 12, Station 1, Roger, understand. We would like all particulars forwarded to this station in regard to condition of the package as soon as this information is available. Over.
Station 1, this is Station 12. Roger, out.
Station 12, this is ORV Yankee. Have package on board this time. Condition is good. Request sailing instructions. Over.
ORV Yankee, this is Station 12. Roger, you are to proceed to Ascension to offload recovery package for delivery to Patrick. Advise aircraft their support is no longer needed. They are to return to base.
The nose of the cone is scored and peeled by the intense heat generated during re-entry. The test is over, all wrapped up. The end product is 250,000 bits of information rained down on the antennas from the Cape to Ascension. And after this test, there will be another and another, day and night, bird after bird, down the 6,000-mile shooting gallery, where men watch, listen, and wait for the countdown, downrange.
7, 6, 5, 4.